Hello, I'm Dr. Brian Fraser. In this video, I'll be showing how to use JUnit 5 in IntelliJ with a plain Java project. So I've got IntelliJ up and running, and I'm going to say I want a new project. So I'm going to go down to New, Create New Project. And it turns out the type of project you create is pretty important here. If you create a Gradle project with this Java setting, then you end up having to work through Gradle and a bunch of other settings there. It turns out to be significantly more challenging to get the JUnit up and running, at least I have found so. So if you instead click on just plain Java at the top, don't bother selecting any of the other additional libraries, I'll click Next. And let's name it something like JUnit 5 Demo. Hit Enter, and then let me just bring it onto the screen. So now what we want to do is we're going to create a simple class that we want to test. That'll be the class under test. And then we're going to create a JUnit 5 test class for that. So I'm going to expand my source here, and I'm going to copy in. Let's go right click, New Java class. I'm going to call this Cup. It's a simple class that we're going to use. I've got it already typed out, so I'll just put it in here. Basically, it just stores two things, a liquid type and a percentage full. Has a constructor that gives us the ability to set those two things, and then getters and setters. So a simple class we want to test. So how can I go about testing this? Well, the first thing I want to do is I'm going to go up here. I can either right click and then show action context, which is the same as hitting Alt Enter. And then I want to say I want to create tests. Same source, sounds fine. Now here I want to pick what type of JUnit testing I want to do. You can go JUnit 4 or 5. This video is on JUnit 5. It tells me that the library is not found, so we'll click Fix, and it will then set up the correct imports. You may have to select here in the drop-down as to what you want to import. Let's go with, well, let's try this one I happen to know. So I'm going to go with JUnit 5.4.2 because I happen to know that works on my setup. You could probably go with a later one without loss of functionality. And I'll just click one of these buttons down here so it gives me an initial test method. So I click OK, and it gives me my test function, or my test class, pardon me. We have cup and then cup test. It's saying it's having a problem with these imports. So I'm going to go onto it, I'm going to hit Alt Enter, and I'm going to add the library JUnit 5.4 to the class path, let it automatically fix that. And then the error goes away. So that's good. I'm going to go here and I'm going to get rid of these because I don't want to have all the fully qualifieds on that. It doesn't know what that is, but it automatically imports it. So here we go, we're importing the test. And let's test the get liquid type. So I'm going to create a cup. Cup C equals new cup. And Control P to see the types of arguments I need. I need the liquid type. Let's pass in orange juice. And percentage full, let's say it's 85% full. 85.4, sure. And now that I've got the object created, I can create a simple test. So I'm going to go assert, oops, get rid of that, assert equals, and then I want to specify the expected value of orange juice. And next I want to specify where I'm expecting to get it from. So from C, I'm going to call get liquid type, and that should give me the value. So let's try running this. So if I go over here to the left and I right click on my test, I can go down to Run Cup Test. It will realize that it can run these tests in it, and it will launch the test runner. And so we can see here that it ran this one method, get liquid type. It passed. Let's create a second test. So I'm going to duplicate this, Control D on my keyboard, and I'm going to call this one get percentage full. And then here, we're expecting this to be 85.5. We're getting this from C dot get percent full. And because we're dealing with doubles, it's best to use the 3-argument version where we get to specify the delta, which is to say how accurate we want it. And we want this to be correct within, say, 1,000th of a percent. And now if I go back over here, right click, run tests, it'll show me that it runs two methods, and they'll both pass. A suggestion is you always want to make sure that your tests are running and that it's correctly running things. So I'm going to do an assert equals, and let's just check that 42 equals 24. So of course this is going to fail, but we want to make sure it does just to ensure that our tests are actually being run correctly. So run again, which is great. Now what I can do, I'll get rid of that line that was failing. If I'm inside the test and I go Control-Shift F10, it'll run. If I'm inside the class, pardon me, Control-Shift F10, it'll run all of the methods in the class if I do Control-Shift F10. If I'm inside one of my methods, I can do Control-Shift F10, and it will run just that one method. This is useful if you've got tests that take a bit longer and you've got one that fails and you're just trying to work through what the bug is. Now the last thing I want to show is run with coverage. So if I go up here to the Run menu, and then I select Run with Coverage. Why is it not working? Here we go. Try it over here. Right click on it, and I'm going to say Run CPU Test with Coverage. It'll go through and it'll check all of my production classes, how much have been actually tested. And we can see down here that my cup class has 100% of that class has been tested, but only 66% of it has been tested. So if I double click on this, it'll take me in here. And the bars on the left give me a hint as to what has been tested. So the green bar means that this code has been executed at least once. This one as well. Down here we see that this has never been executed. And so if I'm looking to improve my test coverage, I now realize I should be at least having a set liquid type and a set percentage fill in order to improve my test coverage. So let's try just doing one of those. So let's do a set liquid type. I wonder if I can do this. Right click on it. Generate missed test method. And let's just do it for this set liquid type. Now put that into my cup here. Now I have to figure out what I want to do with it. I'm going to copy and paste what I had before. And I build a cup, and then I want to say C dot set liquid type is what we're in, and let's change this to water. And I happen to have the code up here already. I'll just faster to copy and paste it. And I'm going to now assert equals that my type is now water. So this should be water, and my liquid type is there. So now if I run this with test coverage again, right click, run test coverage, we should see that I'm now exceeding 60% and up to 80%. And so that can get me towards having 100% test coverage for my class. Alright, thank you very much for watching. Check out another video on how to write more JUnit tests, i.e. what are some of the other asserts that we can use to test exceptions and so forth. And thank you for watching.